So today we have Franks from the Welfare Rights team at Newcastle City Council, and he's going to sort of give us a whistle-stop tour and a light touch approach to the benefits that people do have a right to, obviously with a few parameters and criteria involved. So Frank, do you want to start off by just telling us a little bit about what you think are the main carers' rights that people should be aware of?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, I think the important thing to understand is that there are a number of benefits out there available for carers and for the cared for that people aren't aware of. And there are a number of reasons for that, sort of lack of knowledge, or whether there is knowledge that it's a complicated system. People maybe require support to complete application forms and to be guided and supported through that process. And there are a number of organisations available to do that. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that we're not naive. Money doesn't buy health. However, ill health does have its own costs. So in recognition of that, there are a number of benefits. And I think probably the ideal place to start is when we're talking about carers is to look at the benefit called Carers Allowance. The Carers Allowance, I mean, the beauty of it is it's not national insurance based, it's not means tested, you don't have to be related to the person that you care for. The application form can be made online, or you can request from the Carers Allowance unit a paper claim form which they'll send out and complete it. It's not actually a difficult claim form. In principle, it's fairly straightforward. You're caring for somebody, that person receives a qualifying benefit, you make your application subject to the age provisions. If unsure, seek advice locally. That leads us to the qualifying benefits for the cared for person. So for those aged under 16, for children, you still have disability living allowance. For those aged over 16 up until state pension age, we have personal independence payment. And for those over state pension age, we have attendance allowance. And I think attendance allowance is possibly the most common one. Attendance allowance in itself can be a passport to other benefits such as pension credit. In terms of attendance allowance, the requirement is that the support and assistance given is to do with, for example, somebody help to get out of bed, to get dressed, to make sure that they're safely mobile indoors, to monitor support with medication. So you can see the level of assistance that is required. We get a lot of inquiries from residents saying, maybe somebody would ring and say, I need to do my mum's cleaning and cooking and shopping, housework. Sadly, domestic duties aren't counted. The other thing about this, in terms of the question as to why people don't claim, it's a negative application, because for attendance allowance, you have to sit there and so maybe focus on what can't be done or what we require support with. And in my experience, most people are fairly stoical, private, and a lot of people that we will support to make such applications might say that, oh yes, I've looked into that in the past, but I saw what the questions were and threw the application form in the bin. Totally understand that. But again, it's back to the costs of the health problems, the additional heating, the lack of income in combination with ill health, can make people a prisoner within their own four walls. But having 60 or 80 odd pounds a week, in my mind, you can then, with that income, is buy the appropriate care, pay for taxis. It can actually assist with quality of life. It's what somebody described to me not so long ago as found money. Personal independence payment for those of working age, it's a very similar benefit. There are two elements to it, a care component and a mobility element. Carers allowance in itself, it can be viewed as a bit of a passporting benefit as well. So you could find that carers are disregarded for the council tax discounts scheme. You don't maybe necessarily actually have to have the benefit as long as you can prove that you provide care for 35 hours a week. So I think that's a very quick bus ride through a lot of benefits. And I think the safest thing to always say is that if unsure, please contact your local advice agency and talk this through with them. And as Kate, I'm sure, will say, there's also within Newcastle, we have the information on our website.
People would be forgiven, I think, for thinking that's an awful lot to take in. So I'd endorse what you said at the end there, I guess, Kate. And information now, go to the website and have a look through there to see what you think you might want to know more about, and then contact somebody who can give you the advice.
Yeah, I mean, there's also obviously the natural source as well, Richard, of the government's website, where they will have these benefits broken down as well. So yeah, I mean, have a look, and then if you want to take it any further, look locally. There's plenty of advice provision within the area.
Well, thanks for that, Frank. Kate, I'll hand it back to you because we've got another guest that we want to bring in today.
Hi, yes. So we've also got Ave, and she's been listening intently to what Frank has been saying. Her leading role is supporting carers in employment or who are looking for employment. It's really important to know what your rights are in the round. It isn't just about welfare benefits or anything else. It's a lot of people will be in employment or seeking employment. They may be a young person or they may be an adult. And I think it's really important to bring this to light. So tell us a little bit, Ave, about what you do across the patch.
Yes, hello. Thanks very much for having me. So I work at Newcastle Carers, which is a volunteer organisation supporting carers in Newcastle. The Return to Work project supports carers around North of Tyne. So this is a project which is funded by North of Tyne Combined Authority. And we are working in partnership with North of Tyne Combined Authority, but also with the carer centres from North of Tyne. So they are called North Tyneside Carers Centre, and also Carers Northumberland, which is based in Northumberland. And between the three carers organisations, we have a project which is called Return to Work Carers. And as part of this, we are supporting carers who are ready to kind of start thinking about what their own aspirations are. And we help them to kind of move on and start thinking about either accessing employment, but also looking into either doing voluntary work or getting into education or training. We also work with carers who are already in employment and maybe are struggling because of their caring role. We help them to address any barriers they might have with information and advice, and especially around their employment rights. We make sure that they understand what their employment rights are as a carer. For example, we help them to understand about making a flexible working request, for example. We can talk them through all the processes, help them do word things, because sometimes these requests can be quite formal. And if you're not used to kind of doing this, getting your head into very formal paperwork like that, you do need that guidance maybe. So that's what we support carers with. Carers also have a lot of other rights that they might not know about straight away. So, for example, they have the right to get time off for emergencies from their employers. So that's, again, another right that we often remind carers of. They also have the right to be protected from discrimination, because ultimately Equality Act 2010 protects carers against direct discrimination as well, because of their caring responsibilities. So they are counted as being associated with someone who is protected by the law because of their age or disability, for example.
What would somebody do if they were thinking, I'm in the situation now where I'd quite like to go to work. I kind of feel that the person I'm looking after can cope a little bit without me, or I can bring someone in to keep some support there whilst I go to work. Or that person who's in work and looking for some advice on how to manage their situation. What should they do?
So I would recommend if they would get in touch with us, either over the phone or they can self-refer via email. Information Now website has a lot of information, so our details are there as well. And what we usually do, we set up a first phone call, which is a little bit longer because we go through quite a lot of information about, what the caring situation is with the carer, how they are feeling about different things. And the main goal of the conversation really is for me to get an understanding about what the carer really wants to do for themselves and how they are able to get there. And I would help the carer to find out what is the best route way for them to get where they really want to be. It doesn't have to be that they are ready to jump into employment tomorrow. It can be that they're thinking about that they would like to have a job in a year's time, and we can start that work already now. We can start those conversations. I can start to help them to look into what kind of training courses there are, for example. I can start to look into, let's say, if they have a specific career path in mind, what they would want to do, but they just don't know, do you have to go to university for that? Can you just jump into that job? I can help them to kind of figure out what that pathway is, and I can even help with, finding out how much things might cost, how much courses might cost. Is there any kind of support they could get financially for different courses? So everything kind of just the information and advice would come from one place around how they would achieve their aspirations or where they want to be.
Ava, if somebody gets in touch, you don't have to go through that whole process and all the questions. Somebody could just get in touch for a quick chat to understand what the options might be.
Yes, certainly. It's really up to the carer how fast they want to go through this. If they just have one short question, I can just give them an answer on the spot. If I don't have the answer straight away, I usually just say that I'll get back to you. So it could be just one conversation, it could be many conversations. It just really depends on what the carer wants to get out of my support.
Ave, I was just wondering, from what you said there, are there some courses where, because you've been identified and have evidence that you're a carer, that you can get discounts and support in a different way?
Here at the Carer Centre, we do have a little grant that carers can apply for. So, for example, we have used that grant for some carers to pay for a specific course. So that grant is only provided by us here at the Carer Centre for Carers. They can use this for kind of educational purposes. So this is quite specific for carers. With some colleges, there is, if they have to pay for, let's say, level 2 course, it depends on their income. So often I am just a link to kind of helping them to figure out or calculate what their current income is from the benefits. If they don't work, it's often kind of low enough to be eligible for a free course.
Well, thanks very much for sharing that with us today, Ava. And to Kate from Information Now as well. Don't forget informationnow.org.uk for more information on all of the topics we've discussed today. And Carers Rights Day is on the 25th of November.